Blast me to Bermuda. It's time for another Mad Merlin's video. Hello and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Speed Duels GX deck overview. So this is our 6th deck overview in the box out of the 8. And I'm really surprised it took me longer to do this guy, because he is one of the most flamboyant GX characters of all. It is, of course, everyone's least favourite teacher. Don't call him Mr. or Mrs. It's Dr. Crowler. So, as usual, we'll go through the skills, look at all the monsters, strengths, weaknesses, combos, and any modifications I would make. So, diving straight in then, we have Crowler's skills. So we've got Ancient Fusion. This is the only way to bring out your one fusion monster. So once per duel, you can discard one card to fusion summon one Ancient Gear fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your field as material. If one of those materials is an Ancient Gear Golem monster, you can also use monsters from your hand and or deck as the other material. Your opponent takes no damage for the rest of this turn. Any battle damage your opponent takes from that fusion monster is halved. So it's a good skill. It works with any of the Ancient Gear Golem monsters. So if you've got Ancient Gear Golem, I think Ultimate Pound, or there's another one as well. I think there's a couple extra Ancient Gear Golem monsters. But if you use those, then you get to use materials from your deck or hand as well, instead of just the field. There is the side effect though, that your opponent will take no damage for the rest of the turn, and then any damage from future attacks is halved. But it's not too bad, seeing as the monster you're going to be bringing out is, I think, 3,500 attack anyway. We got probably the skill I would use most, the Middle-Aged Mech skill. So this is basically a free and second copy of Ancient Gear Castle. So all Ancient Gear monsters you control gain 300 attack, and each time a monster is normal summoned or set, you can place a counter on this card. If you tribute summon an Ancient Gear monster face up, you can tribute this card instead. So if the number of counters on this card is equal to or greater than the required tribute. So the good thing about this is it's a second copy of Ancient Gear Castle, which is one in the deck anyway. But it gives you the 300 attack point boost and gives you another way of bringing out your bigger Ancient Gear monsters. And the other bonus is, of course, it says each time a monster is normal summon or set. So that includes yours and your opponent's. Right, speaking of monsters, let's see what we got. And it wouldn't be a Crowler deck without the legendary Ancient Gear Golem. So this is a level 8 Earth monster who first arrived in the Lost Millennium booster packs. And he has 3,000 attack and 3,000 defense with the effect that says cannot be special summoned. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell or traps until the end of the damage step. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. So you'll see this effect on pretty much all the Ancient Gear monsters, limiting your opponent to only activate effects after the damage step. So that's after they took damage. So it can activate cards that says when you take damage, or if you lost so many life points this turn, those effects can still activate. But anything like your negate attacks, your mirror forces, etc., they can't be activated because you can't be activated in response to this card's attack. The piercing damage is also another brilliant effect, especially on a high-level, high-attack monster such as Gear Golem. Next we have Mechanical Chaser, who is the only non-Earth monster, I think, in this deck. So it's a normal machine monster with 1850 attack and 800 defense. Personally, this would be an instant remove from the deck. I would put this into one of my Bandit Keith decks, as it's a more fitting card for him. It's a dark machine monster for a start. And it does seem a little out of place. It's a good beat stick, but I wouldn't run it personally in a gear deck. Next we have Giant Rat, who is a level 4 Earth Beast monster, who, when he's destroyed, you can summon a Earth monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck in attack position. I think I've mentioned it before, but a lot of the older versions of these type of cards said you just special summon the monster, so it could be defense or attack. They've recently added a change that it has to be in attack position, as there was like one card that said that, so they made all the cards say that. But he's pretty good. He's here to basically pull out, I would say Trojan Horse, but his attack's too high. But you've got stuff that's the Ancient Gear Soldier you could pull out, Ancient Gears, Ancient Gear Engineer, etc. There's plenty of materials for him. He is, again, another one I would probably remove from the deck. You could do a lot better than having him in there and doubling up on some of your actual Ancient Gears. Trojan Horse. So this guy is the easiest way of bringing out your Ancient Gear Golem, because it acts as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of an Earth monster. Personally, I do love this card in this deck. I would most likely double up on him, so you've got 2 ways of bringing out, 2 extra ways of bringing out your Ancient Gear Golem. It's, like I said, the only downside is he's not searchable from Giant Rat, but he's still a pretty good monster being included in this deck. The other non-Earth monster is Dekuchi, the Battle-Chanted Locomotive. So it's a level 4 monster that, when it's flipped, you can draw 1 card. If you control any Bokuchi, the frightening car, you can draw an additional card for each one that you control. Again, I would probably put this in a Bandit Keith deck, where I think I've already got this guy and a couple of the smaller locomotive card. Back on the Ancient Gear track, so we've got Ancient Gear Beast, who is the level 6 monster of the deck. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Oh no, sorry, cannot be special summoned. I've got my glasses on, I still can't read. So if this card attacks, again, your opponent cannot activate spell traps until the end of the damage step. Negate the effect of the monster that is destroyed by this card, including if it activates in the graveyard. So this would be a good counter to a Gravekeeper deck or other deck that has cards activating when they go to the graveyard. Next up we have the ever basic Ancient Gear Soldier. So he just has the effect that your opponent cannot activate spell traps. He's pretty good, 1300 attack, 1300 defense. So with your Ancient Gear Castle or your skill, you'd buff them up to 1600. Definitely worth a double up. Next we have Ancient Gear. So if you control an Ancient Gear, you can special summon this card from your hand in attack position. So it does, I think it is specific to having another Ancient Gear on the field, not an Ancient Gear monster. Which, really, there's only 1 copy of this in the deck, so it's kind of redundant having it in there. Definitely double up, even triple up on this guy. Because you could, there's ways you could summon a level 2 monster straight away, and then trigger its effect and bring out another. Excuse me. Next up, we got Ancient Gear Engineer. So a level 5, not the best stats, 1500, but it's his effects that you're going to be using mostly. So again, you got your negate the effect, negate any trap card that targets this card, and if you do, destroy it. Also, you got the standard effect if this card attacks. Your opponent cannot activate spell traps until the end of the damage step. Then, at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked, target a spell trap your opponent controls and destroy your target. So not only does he negate traps that target him, he also does the Ancient Gear thing of stopping your opponent activating cards. He also has the final bonus effect of destroying a card if he attacked. So his effects make up for his low stats. He'd still be 1800 when you activate your Ancient Gear Castle, so he's still going to be pretty useful, especially those bonus effects. So next we got Ancient Gear Knight, which I believe is the first Speed Duels Gemini monster. I'm not too sure, I haven't got every card yet in Speed Duels, but I think it's one of the first. So this is a Gemini monster, which is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field or in your graveyard. While this card is a normal monster on the field, you can normal summon it again to have it become an effect monster. So it just gets the standard Ancient Gear effect of if this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell or traps until the end of the damage step. But even without that effect, he is still a 1800 attack level 4 monster. So definitely worth adding into your deck. And finally for monsters, we got Ancient Gear Gadget. So this combines the Gadget monsters and the Ancient Gears. The first time that happened was the Ancient Gear Gadgetron Dragon from the Machine Revolt structure deck, which gained an additional effect depending on the amount of gadgets on the field, I think, or was tributed for its tribute summon. So, level 4, 2000 defense, so he's going to be your best defender in the deck. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can declare one card type, monster spell trap, this turn. If your monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell traps or monster's effect, whichever was declared, until the end of the damage step. And once per turn, you can declare one gadget monster's card name. Until the end phase, this card's name becomes that name. So it allows you to search out your extra gadgets. I believe there was a gadget Yugi deck, I think. If not, there definitely needs to be one, because Yugi's gadget deck was pretty broken. Just the red, green, blue gadgets searching each other out, and then using the effect of Stronghold, the Moving Fortress trap card to bring out a really powerful trap monster. But like I said, the ability to search out your gadgets and negate even monster effects now. So before, your opponents, when attacking with your Ancient Gears, would only be able to not activate spell and traps. If you normal summon this guy, call out monster, and your opponent can't activate those effects as well. Alright, moving on, we've got our spell cards. So first up, we got Earthquake, which is a nice little spell card which changes all face-up monsters on the field to defense position. So normally a monster's position can only change once per turn. If you activate this card, you can still change your monster back to attack. So if you've got your Ancient Gear Golem face up, you can play Earthquake, turn all your opponent's monsters to defense position, and then change your Golem back to attack. Next we have another copy of Ancient Gear Castle. So your first copy, as I mentioned, is the skill. But this does the same thing, so boosts all Ancient Gear monsters' attacks by 300. Each time a monster is normal summoned or set, place a counter on it. You contribute this card with counters equaling the tributes required for a tribute summon of an Ancient Gear monster. So if you're not running the skill version of this, definitely put 2 copies of this in the deck. But if you're not running the skill version of this, why run the Ancient Gears at all? It's literally, this is your best card for running this deck. It's basically, if you activate that skill your first turn, by the end of your opponent's first turn, you're bound to have 2 counters on this, and that's enough to bring out Golem straight away. Gear Town is the Ancient Gear field spell. So both players can normal summon Ancient Gear monsters with 1 less tribute. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So this is going to be another one of your cards that will help you bring out your strong ancient gears quickly. Reducing the amount of tributes needed is a really good thing, especially in this deck if you run multiple copies of Golem. You can special summon an ancient gear monster when this card is destroyed, so that's not a too bad effect if you end up losing this card. Of course, there is multiple ways of destroying spells, including Double Cyclone, which targets one spell you control and one your opponent controls, and then you destroy them. So there's a couple of cards in this deck, Gear Tower being one of them, that will trigger once they have been destroyed. So it's never a bad thing to destroy your own cards. And next we have Card Advance. So pretty good card to be used in, I'd say, any deck. It allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, then place them back in any order. So pretty much a copy version of a spell version of the monster Big Eye, which was a flip effect, which did the same thing. But we have the added bonus that you can tribute summon one monster in addition to your normal summoner set this turn. So that's pretty good. It does say you can only gain this effect once per turn. So if you're activating multiple card advance, you can't get 2 normal extra tribute summons. It's only one once ever. But still, 1 extra tribute is going to be enough to bring out most of your big monsters, especially seeing you've got 2 1 tribute monsters. So you can activate this card, normal summon, and then also tribute summon. And then still you get that preview of your next 5 draws. Finally, we've got our traps to look at. So we've got Metamorph. Target one face-up monster on the field. Equip it to this card. With this card, it gains 300 attack and defense, and if it attacks, it gains attack equal to half the attack of the attack target during damage calculation only. So Metamorph was originally used by Bandit Keith in the anime to bring out Metal Zoa. Joey also used it in the same duel to bring out Red Eye's Metal Dragon. It's a pretty good card for running any deck, but mainly machines is a good card to use. Gaining the half the attack of the attack target is pretty much the clincher. It's going to definitely throw most fights in your favour. Of course, that effect does only activate on your turn when you attack, and it is only during damage calculation only. Still, it's a pretty good card to have. Next up we have Statue of the Wicked. So if this card, while set, is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Wicked token. Fiend, Dark, level 4, attack 1000, defense 1000. So for any fans of the GX anime will know, this was used in Crowler's first duel against Jaden. He set 2 of these, activated Heavy Storm, wiping out the field, and then bringing out these 2 tokens, which he then tributed for Ancient Gear Golem. But yeah, this is another one for the target effect of Wild Cyclone. So if you want to get out an extra bonus tribute monster or tribute material without using up your normal summon, Statue of the Wicked is here to help you. Damage Condenser. When you take battle damage, discard a card, special summon one monster from your deck with attack less than or equal to the battle damage you took in attack position. So there's a few cards in here that this would be good for. You can't use it on Golem or Beast as they can't be special summoned, but you can still bring out some of your higher attack monsters. If you've took 2000 or less attack, you can bring out your Trojan Horse to then tribute summon for your Ancient Gear Golem. But it's a good deck. Another good card that can be used in pretty much any deck combination. I believe Zane also used that in the anime, I'm not too sure. Our final trap is Miniaturize. So this is a continuous trap that, once activated, will target one monster on the field with more than 1000 original attack that has a level. If its level is reduced by 1 and it loses 1000 attack. When that monster leaves the field, destroy this card. So this used to never have the caveat that it had to have a level, because the original card of this came out before XYZ monsters with the rank, which has the stars on the opposite side of the card. So this card can only target a level monster, so that's normal monsters, ritual monsters, fusion monsters, and synchro monsters. As long as it has more than 1,000 attack to begin with, it will lose 1,000 attack. And it also loses one of its level stars. So it's a good way to manipulate levels for synchro summoning. But other than that, it's not a good card. It's okay, making opponents want to lose 1,000 attack. That could be pretty good. But it's not the best card in the deck, I don't think. I'd personally remove it, double up on some of the other cards that would benefit. So our final monster is from the extra deck. Come on, camera, focus. There we go. So we have Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, and I was way out when I said he had 3,500. He actually has 4,400 attack and 3,400 defense. So this is Ancient Gear Golem and 2 other Ancient Gear monsters. Must be fusion summoned. If this card attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing damage. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell and traps until the end of the damage step. Also, if this card is destroyed, target an Ancient Gear Golem in your graveyard, special summon it, ignoring the summoning conditions. So this gets around the can't be special summoned effect of Ancient Gear Golem, which is good. So when this card's gone, you've got a 3,000 attack monster replacement straight up. The only downside is this card can only be fusion summoned, and other than the skill, there's no other way you can fusion summon it in this deck. So I think a polymerization would be a good one, especially if you want to run more than one copy of this card and use the skill, the Gear Fusion skill. Okay, let's wrap this video up quickly. So on to strengths. I think strengths of this deck is definitely power, and you got protection as well, because you've got the near enough every gear monster has the effect to stop your opponent activating spells and traps until the end of the damage step. So there's always that. There's also multiple ways of bringing out your big monsters like your Ancient Gear Golem. There's your Trojan Horse, your Castle, and your Gear Town. You've got plenty of protection in the form of Damage Condenser, Miniaturize, even Statue of the Wicked. If you or your opponent destroys it while it's face down, you get that token, which is pretty helpful. So like I said, loads and loads of way of bringing out all your big monsters. Weaknesses. This, I think, is probably one of the few decks I'd consider to have no weakness at the moment. The only things I would definitely say is swap out your dark monsters and run more of the Ancient Gear Earth type monsters. Double up on Golem, double up on stuff like Soldier, Ancient Gear, Knight, and maybe even Gadget. Other than that, there is no real weaknesses to this deck. It is a brilliant deck, I think. One of the best out of the Speed Duels box, although I have saved the best for last. Modifications, other than, like I've just said, adding Ancient Gear, more ancient copies of the Ancient Gear cards, and even adding a polymerization, there's, again, not a lot you would need to do to make this deck better than it already is. Like I said, just me personally, I'd prefer Dark Machines in a Bandit Keith deck and Earth Machines in a Crowler deck. So that's just what I would do. So I plan to get another copy of Duel Academy's Speed Duel box at some point in the near future. So I'm definitely going to be modifying a lot of these decks to be a little more akin to what I run on Duel Links. So there we go. That's the overview for the Crowler deck from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Speed Duels Battle Academy Duel Academy box. What did you think? Do you think, like me, this is probably one of the best decks in the box? Let me know down in the comments. All that's left for me to do then is to say thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. It really helps me out. Also, if you'd like to help the channel out in any other way, please check my social media pages, my Buy Me a Coffee page, my affiliate link for Curton Games if you are in the UK. And I will see you next time then for some more mad content. Goodbye.